All right, so you know how when you look down at Earth from space, farmland often appears like in these super organized grids, right? I mean, it makes sense when you think about it, but then you see something totally different.
Like what?
Like the fields of southern Poland.
Oh, yeah.
It's like from above this incredible, almost artistic arrangement of stripes.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's almost like the land itself has been painted with these long, slender strokes over centuries.
Yeah, it's definitely striking.
So today, we are going to dive deep, deep, deep into the story behind these stunningly striped fields. We've got a fantastic article from NASA Earth Observatory. It's called The Hidden Logic Behind Poland's Stunningly Striped Fields by Lindsay Dorman.
Yep.
Brand new from this month, just came out. And it uses these incredible pictures from Landsat 9. This piece just unveils the historical, geographical, even the social secrets behind these unique ribbon-like agricultural patterns, especially around a village called Sułoszowa, not far from Kraków.
Sounds fascinating.
Oh, it is. So our mission today is to basically unpack exactly why this mesmerizing landscape looks the way it does.
All right, let's get to it. I mean, what's really striking, like when you first see those satellite images of large-scale agriculture, it's often the uniformity of it all.
Yeah.
Like big fields laid out with this almost industrial precision.
Yeah.
So when you see these images of southern Poland, it's totally different.
It's totally different.
And the article really nails it, I think, when they describe it as this mesmerizing patchwork of narrow ribbon-like fields.
Yeah.
And you instantly start wondering, like, what's the deal here? What happened to create this look?
Yes. And the article really starts to pull back the curtain. I mean, it points to a few key things right off the bat.
Okay.
The first one is the repeated division of land over generations. Think about it. Families passing down their farms to their kids, and every generation splits that land a little further. And then there's that really practical aspect. Like, you got to get to your land.
Road access.
Exactly. Road access. If you're going to farm it, you need a way to actually reach it. And finally, the article mentions how even the natural shape of the land, like the rivers and the hills, that's all played a role in shaping the fields. It's not just one thing. It's really an interesting mix of all these elements.
That mix of factors is so important because it stops us from looking for one simple answer.
Oh.
So like when we think about the division of land over time, it's easy to picture how the original plots would naturally be subdivided as families grow, right? But the question becomes, why do these smaller plots have that elongated shape?
Yeah.
And that's where that need for road access comes in.
Totally. And the article actually gives us a perfect example of this, the village of Sułoszowa near Kraków.
Right.
They describe it as like the perfect example. And Landsat 9 got a great shot of it just last year in 2024. And the images show these like ribbon-like fields just fanning out from a central road. And that's where all the houses are. It's pretty cool. You can almost picture each family having their strip of land stretching out behind their house.
Right.
And the article mentions seeing these same narrow fields extending from settlements along roads all over. It really paints a picture.
Yeah, I mean, Sułoszowa is a really good example of this. The way the village itself is laid out along that road with fields extending outwards, it shows that need for connection to the community, It wasn't just about dividing up the land, but ensuring everyone could still participate in village life, to transport goods, to get to their neighbors, all of that. And when we start thinking about other places around the world, we see that Sułoszowa is not the only example.
Right. The article makes some cool comparisons, like the Waldhufendorfer in Germany, these forest villages, where you see a really similar thing, land strips extending from houses near roads and streams. It's that same core idea, connecting home and farmland. And then the article talks about long lots found in North America, which were influenced by French settlers. It's pretty wild to see this kind of land division in completely different places.
It is. And while the end result might look similar in those places, the history and the social reasons behind them were probably a little different. Like in Germany, those settlements often came from clearing forests. Each settler would get a strip extending from the village into the forest. So they had access to resources, you see. And the French long lots, they're often found along rivers, prioritizing access to the waterways.
Makes sense. So different reasons, but same outcome.
Right.
And going back to Poland, the article dives into the history, explaining that this farming style we're talking about really started to take shape in the early 1600s, around the 17th century.
Okay.
Back then, settlements would often be established along streams and roads, and each settler would get a similar plot of land, averaging about 400 meters wide, with frontage on the road and access to water, so that linear connection was there from the very beginning.
That initial allocation of land sets the stage for why the divisions kept that elongated shape.
Yeah.
Like if the original parcels were already like that, any further splitting, like from inheritance, would naturally follow that pattern.
Yeah.
Especially with how important it was to have road frontage.
Which brings us to inheritance. The article has this great quote from Erika Ligman-Zelinska, a geographer at Michigan State University.
Okay.
She says that the decrees back in the 18th and 19th centuries, the ones that let peasants pass down land to their children,
Right.
those were a big reason for this ongoing division of the land.
Okay.
And she makes a really good point. She says that needing access to the road basically locked in that stripe-like pattern, because as land was divided between more and more kids, each plot to stay connected to that road had to become longer and thinner. Like imagine slicing a cake lengthwise over and over. That's kind of what happened to these fields.
It's a great point. The legal part of inheritance made subdivision possible, but needing access to the road dictated how that subdivision happened. It had to go along a very specific axis, and that's how we get those increasingly slender field patterns. It's not just about dividing the land, it's about making sure each new piece is good for farming and connected.
And it's not just about roads, right? The article talks about how the natural geography played a role, too.
Oh, of course.
Like it mentions how these long, thin plots tend to run perpendicular to rivers and roads.
Right.
Which makes sense, right? You want your strip of land to stretch away from the road or river so you can access it.
Exactly, maximizing access. But what I thought was interesting was how they talked about how the property lines were first established. Because, like way back when, before they had fancy surveying tools, making perfectly straight lines on the ground was super hard.
Oh, yeah.
So some of these fields ended up curved. And the fact that you can still see both curved fields and straight ones around Sułoszowa is like looking back in time at how land measurement changed.
Wow, so those curves are literally from people figuring out property lines hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It's like the landscape is telling us a start.
Oh, okay.
And then they bring in this other element, the rolling hills in the area. They spoke to Cezary Kabusha, a soil scientist at Wrocław University.
Okay.
And he compared the field patterns to a digital terrain model. And what they found was that the field shapes often matched the natural contours of the hills. So it's not just about these lines humans drew. The shape of the land itself also impacted how those divisions were made. Farmers would have naturally adapted their land divisions to the terrain, maybe to deal with water runoff or erosion, or just to follow the natural boundaries. It shows how connected human agriculture and the environment really are.
So basically what we're seeing is that these striped fields of southern pollard, they aren't random or chaotic at all. They are a direct result of families dividing their land over centuries, through inheritance. And they needed to keep access to a road for each of those plots, which forced them into these long, thin shapes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you've got the natural landscape, the rivers, the hills, even the limitations of old surveying methods, which all played a role in creating this tapestry. It's pretty cool.
Totally. What looks random is actually incredibly logical. It's a historical record of, land ownership, social structures, and how the environment shapes things.
Yeah.
It reflects how people organize themselves and how their relationship with the land has evolved over time.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? These seemingly random patterns have such a deep meaning, historically and geographically. It shows how human actions and the environment work together over long periods, leaving these visible marks on the planet. So when you look at pictures of those striped fields, think about this. How many other things we do, like how we pass down land or build roads, have left lasting marks on the world? What other hidden stories are there in the landscapes around us, shaped by things we don't even think about?
Right.
It makes you wonder what stories the land is still waiting to tell.
For sure.
So that's a wrap for today's deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
See you next time.
Yeah. See ya.